Good morning, beautiful people. How are you today? I'm now finally back home from my holiday, and I'm sitting in my back garden looking out upon the world. And when we got back to our beautiful village on the border of France and Switzerland, the population of our village had doubled in the time that we were away. It wasn't that there were more buildings, but in fact what had happened was some gypsies had moved into a field at the bottom of our village on the local football pitch. Now this news had caused pandemonium in the village, this little village of 500 people, which by 10 o'clock is completely silent, had suddenly been enveloped in all these new people, all these new souls. And rather than welcome them in with the red carpet, embrace the change, many people in the village had immediately said these people had to leave. They were going to ruin the grass, they made too much noise, their music was too loud. They didn't pay taxes. A lot of them didn't come from this country. What right did they have to be in our village? And when I heard the news as well, my immediate thoughts were, oh my goodness, maybe the house isn't safe. We need to protect our children. We have to be careful. But of course I was in serpent at this moment in time. I was stuck in my first chakra, judging them, assuming that all the things that we say about gypsies are true. They were using our electricity. They were taking our water. How can they be normal people? They live in caravans and tents. And then I stopped. And I took a breath. And I thought. And then I entered my heart. And I realized what a gift these people were to our village. And as we put the children to bed and the darkness arrived, the music started to play. And you realized the talent of these beautiful people, these beautiful wandering folk, the wanderers of this earth, hearts full of wonder, souls with deep dreams. And of course the gypsy heart has that natural urge to see the world, to wander, to discover the undiscovered, to unravel the mystery of life, to live close to the earth, to walk the unpaved path, to find the zest and the magic of life. Often gypsies are people who are closer to the earth than anyone else, who are in touch with their energetic side, in touch with the magic of life. Fortune tellers, musicians, creatives, dancers, singers, gardeners of the earth, always pulled towards the ocean, always pulled towards nature and the forests. People who listen to the wind, people with great rhythm in their heart, people who know to love from the depths of their soul. Folks who are not hypnotized by this absolute need to lead a life with jobs from 9 till 5 and big houses. People who are happy not to have roots in any place. They are the adventurers of this earth. Maybe on the outside they seem to have a life of great chaos, but inside, this is often great wisdom. And I'd realized in this moment that I'd been caught in judgment. And judgment is very much a first chakra issue, where you get caught in that serpent mind, where you jump to conclusions and only go through the mind, but completely bypass the heart. Because every single one of those people, maybe there's 100, 150, maybe even 200 people who are down there in the caravans just 200 meters from our house. And I bet you if I actually went to speak to them, I'd find some incredibly beautiful souls. And I'd hear some incredible stories too. And so this morning, myself and my daughters went to the playground, which is next to the field they're on. And we just took a look at these people and their life that they're leading, and it actually looks pretty amazing. Beautiful caravans, beautiful tents. They've connected with the electricity in the area. They've tapped themselves up to the water. Very practically minded people. And to me, actually, there was no problems. They weren't causing any issues. Maybe the local football team might have an issue with the fact they no longer have a football pitch. But the people who were trying to avoid going near them, who were avoid going to the playground, who were avoiding the tennis courts, which are also next to where the caravans are, these people are just denying themselves the opportunity to see the beauty. They are judging people on what they see and preconceived ideas, but in reality, to me, these people look like they've just set up a nice campsite. They're on a great adventure. And yes, you could argue that they're breaking certain codes and certain rules which have been put in place by the Western world, which is that we have to pay taxes to run towns and to run villages, and we have to pay bills. But these things are all human invention. And the noises they made last night were all just noises of joy and happiness, of people who are letting go of all the stress. And perhaps those people who are sitting there in their homes, judging them by the noise, judging them by the fact they're just there, I think these people are the ones who are going to be the most miserable about this. And the gypsies, well, they said they're going to move on. They're going to be here for 2 weeks, and then they'll move on to the next field, to the next town, to the next place where they can discover a new part of the world, where they can see the sky from a different angle, where they can enjoy a different part of this beautiful planet. And the interesting thing about judgment is you attract what you judge until you no longer judge what you attract. It's very easy to get caught in that conditioned mind, in that place where you see the colour of someone's skin, you see the place they live, the language they talk, you see the fact that they're living in a caravan or what car they drive, or perhaps what religion they are by the clothes they're wearing. Maybe you're someone who has an issue with people with earrings or piercings or tattoos, or with a certain accent. But from my experience of life so far, there are wonderful people from every part of the world. There are wonderful people from every single country. And no one person is the same. Just because I'm English doesn't mean that the next person you meet is going to be the same who's English. Because I love that uniqueness. I love the fact that in the world these days we get the opportunity to meet people from every single corner of the planet who eat different food, who worship different gods, who have different names for the different gods. Some of them talk to trees. Some of them worship the earth. Some of them worship something in the sky. But that's no reason to judge them. It's definitely not our place to judge other people's path if we haven't walked their journey and we don't understand their journey. And I think the greatest gift that we can have if we find ourselves judging people, and of course, I still have my moments, just like when the gypsies arrived. And immediately I was like, oh my goodness, they're going to break into our house. That's just because I've heard stories of gypsies breaking into people's houses, but that doesn't mean they're true. And when I went down to the caravans this morning, I realized that these people are just living their own holiday. Maybe their life is an entire holiday. But they're just keeping themselves to themselves as far as I can see. And one of the core spiritual qualities is non-judgment. But that's not just about not judging other people. It's also about not spending your entire life worrying that other people are judging you. And there may be someone who looks at me and says, oh man, I don't like English guys. I don't like guys with bald patches. That's fine. If they want to judge, that's where they are in their journey, and that's fine. But actually, I could then spend my entire life worrying what other people thought. But if you do that, you end up in this horrible energy of paranoia and constantly looking over your shoulder thinking about what other people might be saying, when in truth most people are so consumed by their own life, so consumed by their own worry, so consumed by their own worlds that they're not judging you. They're too busy focusing on making their own life better, or the last thing that's just happened in their world that they're trying to deal with. It's so easy to judge people, and yet it's so much more difficult to understand. Because understanding requires compassion, it needs patience, it needs a willingness to believe that good hearts sometimes choose poor methods. Through judging, we separate people, we separate tribes, and we forget that everybody is on their own journey. Maybe they're a young soul and they need to make those mistakes to grow. So don't judge them by their mistakes. Try and look at them through understanding eyes. And that way you can grow too, because that part of you which has judged them, which is clearly not fully developed to the place it needs to get to for enlightenment, will suddenly disappear. Because you're no longer judging them for their accent, for their skin colour, for their nationality, for their piercings, for their tattoos, for the colour of their eyes. You're recognising that you are them and they are you, that we're all one. And in fact, judgment only holds us back from growing, whereas understanding pours great beauty on everyone's lives. Because being spiritual is not about what we believe in. It's got everything to do with your state of consciousness. And we just don't know what kind of battle these people are facing. So if we judge them without knowing, without understanding, without having compassion, without going into our hearts and looking deep into their eyes, then we're only expressing a negative part of our own selves. And a great way to learn to not judge, and I think we all judge at some point in our lives, is to try and be the witness to every situation. To focus on yourself and not on that other person. And if we do focus on that other person, to take 3 deep breaths. Look at what this is showing us about ourselves. To just be there in that space for them. Hold space for them. Listen to your heart and not to the crowd, not to the people who are telling you that you should think this, because you are unique and you have every right to not judge people. Because one of the highest spiritual practices is self-observation in judgment. So we see that judgment. For example, I look at my wife's sister. She is a lovely French girl, but she's taken this decision to go to a busy nightclub in the COVID-19 hotspot of Barcelona. Now, of course, initially in that first chakra, in that judgment state, I'm looking at her and going, what an idiot. What is she thinking? But then I take myself out of that state. I look at her from eagle and I go, this poor girl is lost. She doesn't know what to do. She's not been given the gift of wisdom to understand that what